Hello, and welcome to this experiment. This all is feeling like it was very last minute, and I assure you it's not for the most part. Some of these articles I have to look over again because they were posted either after the show yesterday or last night, and then there were the ones I found this morning. So bear with me. Some of these are just going to be just back and forth out of the blue. It's going to be a little bit different today. We are going to start out with Biden cynically uses Ukraine to cover food sabotage. And this was something oh, what? Okay. Not found. That seems to be happening a lot lately. I don't know what's going on with that. Journalneo.org. Yeah, this is becoming irritating because I've had several articles, even a government website that just no longer existed. So I don't know if the Ministry of Truth is going in and saying, oh, we can't be sharing that. But, well, this one works. So, yeah, it must have just been that article. Tulsi Gabbard suggests Obama behind Ministry of Truth while Biden is frontman. And, I have to agree with this in the sense that he was setting up the public with his little speech the other day, talking about how we need to regulate speech, and free speech doesn't mean that you can just say whatever you want. Yes, it does. If you open a dictionary and you look up the term free and then you look up speech, you put those two together, you get a fairly decent idea as to what free speech is, and it's not what these people are describing. Obama argued that content moderation shouldn't be left solely to private interests, and yet Bezos owns the Washington Post. Most newspapers are owned by a millionaire / billionaire of some kind. Um, you have Fox News that was who's the dead guy? Started that thing. Yeah, so former rep Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii suggested that former President Barack Obama is connected to the Department of Homeland Security's newly established Disinformation Governance Board, which she called the Ministry of Truth. She's a smart one. From George Orwell's dystopian novel in 1984. Biden is just a frontman, Gabbard a 2020 Democratic presidential candidate, and I will disclose I did donate to her campaign because she was our only hope, and Obi-Wan Kenobi did not get the nomination. Tweeted on Sunday with a video of Obama calling for content moderation during a Stanford University speech earlier this month. Obama, April 21st. Social media censors don't go far enough, so the government needs to step in to do the job. That is a direct violation of the First Amendment. You're supposed to be a constitutional scholar. You were teaching that shit in college. I think your former students should probably be requesting a refund now because obviously you did not know what you were talking about. Let's move on. 6 days later, Homeland Security rolls out the Ministry of Truth, aka Disinformation Governance Board, she wrote. Yes, she is dead on the money. People keep asking who is actually running things because it can't be Biden. There's no way that it could possibly be Biden at this point. There's other people in the background who are running things, and that's why they flip out every time Biden says something in public where he's like, you guys are going to know when you go into Ukraine. And they're like, oh my God, he's not supposed to be saying that. Why was he at that meeting? He's just the president, you know? So I think this should give us a pretty good idea as to who is really running things. Let's face it, this is Obama's third term. We're starting to see things implemented that just should not be happening. And this, quite frankly, is one of them. I'm still irritated that this not found. What? Hmm. I do think I know how I found that earlier, so I'm wondering. Let's see here. Go. No, that's the wrong one. Um, it was in the comments section, so go to the original site. And then somebody else pointed out, hey, you're dead on the money. This other guy said the same thing. It's my link. Why is my link wrong? How is my link wrong? That is weird. Okay, so here's the original article that I was going to read earlier. Biden cynically uses Ukraine to cover food shortage. And for some reason, it is not going to my website like it should. And this is really tiny. This is a bad format for, let's see if they have a web option at desktop. No, it wants to switch to the desktop and it's already at 2 font. But hey, let's go for this. Let's do it. I might need glasses afterwards. It's beginning to look like some bad actors are deliberately taking steps to guarantee a coming global food crisis. Every measure that the Biden administration strategists have been making to control energy inflation is damaging the supply or inflating the price of natural gas, oil, and coal to the global economy. This is having a huge impact on fertilizer prices and food production. That began well before Ukraine. Now reports are circulating that Biden's people have intervened to block the freight rail shipping of fertilizer at the most critical time for spring planting. By this autumn, the effects will be explosive. Wow. So we already have a food crisis on our hands, and they're saying within the next 3 to 6 months, this the shit's gonna hit the fan at the supermarkets and out in the public. When people don't have food, bad things happen. So yeah, they're guaranteeing that this is going to happen at this point. With the crucial time for U.S. spring planting at its critical phase, CF Industries of Deerfield, Illinois, the largest U.S. supplier of nitrogen fertilizers as well as a vital diesel engine additive, issued a press release stating that on Friday, April 8th, 2022, Union Pacific informed the CF Industries without advance notice that it was mandating certain shippers to reduce the volume of private cars on its railroad effective immediately. Union Pacific is one of only 4 major rail companies that together carry some 80% of all U.S. agriculture rail freight. The CF company CEO Tony Will stated the timing for this action by Union Pacific cannot come at a worse time for farmers. Not only will fertilizer be delayed by these shipping restrictions, but additional fertilizer needed to complete spring application may be unable to reach farmers at all. By placing this arbitrary restriction on just a handful of shippers, Union Pacific is jeopardizing farmers' harvest and increasing the cost of food for customers. CF has made urgent appeals to the Biden administration for remedies. So far, no positive action. So, food crisis compiled by bad management equals fuck you. You. That's what we're getting out of Biden and his people, or Obama's people. However you want to look at this, they're screwing you when it comes to food this summer. So this goes on, and it looks like it covers China's policy of zero COVID. Um, there's no precedent even close to this since World War II. um, yeah, so I'm glad I went back and actually tracked this down. I'm gonna try to fix the link to this on the website, thecollapseexperiment.com, so other people can find it. But in the meantime, it's journal-neo, like the Matrix.org. Biden cynically uses Ukraine to cover food sabotage. And yes, that's exactly what's going on. They have horrible policies that they're putting into place that are screwing over farmers, their ability to actually get their hands on what they need to grow food and make diesel. Don't we have a diesel shortage too? Isn't that something that's going on? And now they're limiting how much nitrogen can be shipped in order to make diesel. Diesel on average is what, 430 something a gallon? 530 something a gallon right now. Gasoline is 439 where I live because I've been trying to get this information out there too, that Biden is shipping our oil, our strategic reserve, over to the EU. Yeah, we're not seeing any of that. So, okay, moving back. Let's see here. I'm glad I was able to cover that one. People are finally putting the dots together. It's just there's just that one article where it was just like, holy crap, this guy just like, it's that meme with the dude that has the board and he's got the cigarette and he's just like, no, look here, and there's all the strings linking everything together. New government map shows nearly all of the West in a drought, and it's not even summer yet. This is unprecedented. This is the worst drought, as far as we know, from soil layer research, the worst drought that we've had on this continent in 1,200 years. Oh, here, in an unprecedented move, Southern California officials declared a water shortage emergency and rain to just once a week. Did see where a guy actually turf on his front lawn, and he was just like, yeah, it's been here 20 years. It looks pretty good. We knew climate change would stress our water supplies. No, 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 it's not. It's there's too many fucking people living in a desert, and you do asshole stuff with your water, like water your lawn where there shouldn't be grass. Uh, that's climate change. That's you. Um, and we've been preparing for it, but we did not know it would happen this fast. You weren't preparing for it. You're just covering your ass. Gloria Gray, chairwoman of the Metropolitan Water District Board of Directors. You're covering your ass. You're like, we'll find another source. We'll find another. There's no more sources. Well, we're preparing for this. The latest government maps show nearly all of the West is in a drought, and 95% of California is suffering severe or extreme drought. At this point, I'm just going to say to hell with LA, because their COVID restrictions were absolutely atrocious. Um, there's everybody's moving away from there as it is, and there's like really no reason to live there. I mean, the only thing that I can think of, the only reason I can come up with for me to go to LA would just be the food. I would just want to see the food scene and like try some of the stuff you can't find anywhere else. That's it. Um, I really have no interest in being mugged. I don't want to see homeless people taking a dump on the streets. I don't care about wannabe actors dressing up like Spider-Man outside the man's Chinese theater. I don't care about the boardwalk with all the celebrities. I no, it's not for me. So yeah, I would just say close the cities. I know it's a major port, but there's a lot of towns that just are like hubs for certain industry, and that's all it really should be at this point. Let's see here. Yeah, and then it's wanting. I guess. Oh, okay. Here we go. Yeah, more than half the United States is either like yellow or brown or red. It kind of looks like a bloody urine sample. I don't know. Yeah. See, like that weird color. It's just like this weird, like you got an infection and it got bad. This is real. This is serious. This is unprecedented. It said Adel, Edel, uh, Hagel Khalil. Hey, let's go with Hagel. I can say that. General manager of the Metro. Oh, jeez, that same freaking organization. California is not alone as reservoirs across the West are draining. Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the nation, formed by the Hoover Dam in the Colorado River, needs a new pump to ensure water can flow to Las Vegas. Screw Las Vegas, it shouldn't be there. This isn't hard to figure out. I understand you invested a lot of money. How else are you going to see your prostitute? Where else can you fly in, blow all your money in one spot, say you had a good time, maybe have some money to fly back, and then cry that you can't retire in 5 years? Where else can you do that? Atlantic City. But anyways, the point is, if you wanted to go to Vegas, again, another shithole. They still won't say what exactly happened with the guy who opened fire on a concert from his balcony. We never saw the suicide note. We still haven't heard anything about the Saudis that he was trying to make the gun deal with. But yeah, uh, I have absolutely zero interest in ever going to Vegas. Does not sound fun to me. The problem with climate change is that it takes all the historical patterns and kind of shifts them. No, but okay. Rieger said the West is in a 22-year mega drought as climate change makes it hotter and drier. Um, Again, no. For one, you have piss poor forest management. Like even here in Michigan, where it's fairly wet, we do have like our dry seasons, but we do controlled burning so that if there is a forest fire, there's nothing on the ground to work as fuel to set everything else on fire. They don't do that in California because they want to keep everything natural. But, lightning happens, power lines happen, stupid kids doing stupid things happen. Some people do deliberate things because they're assholes. There's a whole lot of situations where you need to do controlled burning, and California does not do that. We're just starting to see the dominoes fall. It's drier. We're starting to see less water in our reservoirs, and we have fires. This Rieger guy is brilliant. And in California, there's just this series of consequences that we anticipate. You go through the same thing every year and you don't change anything. I'm done with that article. That's just it's making me pissy. Okay, 13-year-old girl dies 2 months after Pfizer COVID vaccine. This is actually older. April 29th, 2022. Vanessa Figueredo was only 13 years old. 5 days after the Pfizer vaccine, her symptoms started. She didn't improve. She just got worse. She passed away 1/10/2022. 2 months later, the teen, let's see here, suffered from facial paralysis, weakness in one side of her face just 5 days after the Pfizer vaccine and was diagnosed with Bell's palsy. That's a common side effect from this stuff. She underwent treatment with the medicine corticosteroid, an anti-inflammatory for her condition. So yeah, it goes into detail about her case. Talks about how her daughter died 13 years old. Um, and let's see here. And then her heart stopped, then breathed her last sigh, and then died. From when she was admitted to the hospital until the day of her death, they did many tests: blood, tomography, resonance, X-ray, ultrasound, and the hospital could not tell me the reason of what caused her to deteriorate so rapidly. Well, I've got a pretty good idea. But anyways, yeah, this is there's a website called covidvaccineinjuries.com. You can check that out yourself. There's plenty of stories on there. This is a recent one that was posted, and considering all the Pfizer documents that are being released, why not share those? Price of diesel hits all-time high, straining the trucking industry. Didn't we just cover the rail industry, right? They're limiting how much stuff people can ship, and part of that is dealing with diesel. I wonder if there's a common thread here. I'm gonna have to start making one of those charts, and then like one of these videos is just gonna be like me with a cigarette, and I'll be like, look, they shut it down here. Down here, you don't get any diesel. And then you don't get any diesel. That cuts down on the railway shipping, which means you get less diesel because they can't ship the stuff to make diesel to ship it with the. I'm telling you, it is. It's all happening. Okay, the price of diesel hits an all-time high in the United States this week as energy markets around the world cope with ongoing disruptions amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine. They can take out that last part. I think we're all starting to figure out what the is going on here. The average price of a gallon of diesel was $5.29 on Sunday, up about 4.3% from 1 week ago and nearly twice as much as 1 year ago. That is correct. Gas prices are also elevated, standing at, well, I'm going to say 4.39 because that's what it is here. I wish it was 4.18. But down slightly from the all-time high of 4.33. Ha! Go us! We beat the all-time high. Yay! While average Americans are feeling the pain at the pump with high gas prices, the trucking industry has been hit hard by the diesel surge. The prices are skyrocketing. We still don't get good prices for the loads. Let's see here. If it goes any higher than this, the price of the load. Wait. If it goes any higher than this and the price of the load not coming up, then maybe we just call it quits. So I have a feeling, and this is just my theory. So a lot of people are doing their shopping online. And they're failing to realize that, yes, you click on that button, but there's a lot of people involved in getting that package from wherever it is it's shipping from to your doorstep. The planes that are used to fly all this stuff everywhere run on diesel. It's a form of diesel. They call it jet fuel, but it's a form of diesel. Um, a lot of the trucks that are shipped, all the tractor trailers run on diesel. Some of the delivery trucks, whether it's FedEx, UPS, DHL, whatever, DHL, is that the other one? I don't remember the shitty yellow trucks. They kind of reminds me of drunken night after taking a multivitamin. But anyways, the thing is, a lot of those trucks run on diesel. I'd say roughly half. Maybe a little less, but still, like your big routes, the ones where they're delivering a lot of stuff in a small area, that's probably diesel. So that price goes up, the price of shipping goes up. A lot of Amazon's policies are going to have to change because the deals that they have with these companies in order to ensure that they can ship stuff for free under your membership, that's all going to change. Um, Amazon's going to be in trouble. Not so much eBay because a lot of the sellers pick and choose as to who ships, but even the post office. I would highly recommend buying a lot of those forever stamps now because they're what, like 52 cents right now. I'm not sure offhand, but um that's going to go up, especially since Congress won't take away the billions that they allegedly owe Congress for no reason to help to fund the war in Iraq, which we're no longer in. So why is the post office? I We need to get rid of some laws. So yes, diesel's going up, and this article doesn't even cover the whole issue with freight and shipping on the rail lines and production of diesel in the United States. So, mm, I mean, yes, it's stating the obvious. Thank you for that. Russia ramps up fiscal spending to blunt economic blowback from Ukraine war. Kind of knew that was coming. Now that Emmanuel Macron has been ensconced in the uh, Isle Palace, I don't know French. For another 5 years, Europe is moving to punish Moscow and its own people by trying to wean the continent off of Russian natural gas and oil, something that's easier said than done. But in defiance of the threatened cash crunch, the Russian government is taking some cues from the West. To wit, the Kremlin has assembled an economic relief package worth tens of billions of dollars to help shield the country's people and its businesses from the impact of sanctions. Well, are they going to mention how they're still selling their oil to China and India at a discount, and other countries are jumping in, and like we're basically not doing anything at this point? According to the Wall Street Journal, since the start of the invasion, Putin has ordered several rounds of emergency increases in payments to pensioners, state workers, and the indigent and needy to compensate for the surging inflation that has battered Russia's economy. Actually, I thought they got their inflation under control. He has also backed state subsidized loans to companies battered by sanctions, providing a lifeline to factories that have halted production because of a lack of imported components, especially microprocessors and chips. Man, sounds like China might just have to go into Taiwan and make sure Russia keeps getting their shit. So far, the impact on Russia's finances have been less intense than many probably had anticipated. During the first full month of the conflict, Russian federal government spent a climbing of 37% from the prior year, driven mostly by the cost of the war. Blah 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 blah. Oh, and here's a tweet. Russia is in a better fiscal position than the US right now. Reality. That is true. That is so true. As one Twitter user pointed out. Yes. I They can try to make it sound like Russia is having issues. They're not. This is nothing compared to shit that they've seen in the past. So Xi's lockdowns will pull the rug out from under U.S. truckers this summer. What is with the truckers? Why would they be going after the truckers? What is this deal with truckers? I mean, the ultimate sign of our freedom and our our self-reliance in this country. Whenever the trucking market slows, truck drivers look for someone to blame. Normally, a slowdown is just a function of supply and demand. The market has too much dispatchable capacity compared to the total number of loads on any given day. This summer, the trucking market could have one of its steepest declines in recent years, and there is an entity that deserves much of the blame: the Chinese Communist Party and its draconian and inhumane lockdowns. Again, the lockdowns are not due to COVID. It is to weaken America. Open your eyes. While the motivations of the Chinese government are unclear, they're pretty clear. It's crystal. You could walk into it, okay, and not. It's right in your face, okay. One thing is certain. Yes, there is one thing that's certain. It's fucking crystal clear, and it's very obvious what they're doing. Anyone subjected to the Chinese state lockdown compares it to being imprisoned in their own homes. Because they're imprisoned and there's no comparison. They're imprisoned in their own homes. Who wrote this? Greg Craig Fuller, CEO of FreightWaves. As seen in several widely shared media posts, the Chinese government has started to erect metal barricades to block people from leaving their homes, preventing passage even for food or medicine. That's been going on for a while. While Americans still watch in horror as innocent Chinese citizens are caught up in an ill-conceived, reckless, or nefarious, take your pick, act by the Chinese Communist Party, there's little Americans can do about it. But like most geopolitical events these days, the lockdowns in Shanghai and other Chinese cities are also a supply chain story that will have a dramatic effect on domestic freight markets. The recent slowdown in the US truckload markets is likely a precursor to a steeper decline in the coming weeks. The lockdowns in China are not a factor in slowing U.S. truckload volumes in February and March, as evidenced by record container imports at nearly all major U.S. ports. But that shouldn't give anyone comfort because the slowdown is about to hit the U.S. ports and the trucking companies that service them in a dramatic way. FreightWaves estimates that a container imports from China represents approximately 16% of U.S. truckload volume and an even larger percentage of U.S. dry van truckloads. After all, nearly half of the containers that come into the United States originated in China. So how is it only 16%? That doesn't make any sense to me. Container imports from China represent approximately 16% of U.S. truckload volumes and an even larger percentage of U.S. dry van truckloads. Okay, 16%. After all, nearly half of the containers that come into the United States originate from China. This isn't adding up. It's almost like they're using certain numbers taken from different places in order to make things look not as bad as they are. Keep in mind that when it comes to like your Dollar General and your Family Dollar and the Dollar Tree, like all the stores that small town America depend on for a lot of their everyday stuff, that's all brought in by trucks. So, and how much of that, if you go into your Dollar General, how much of that says made in China on it? That's not 16%, okay? That is much higher. More than half containers come from China. Moving on, EU considers exemptions as Hungary threatens to veto Russian oil ban. All right, so we might have a brief period of time here while they're arguing about doing the ban. Most of Europe wants to do the Russian oil ban. Hungary is like, no. How Hungary ended up in the EU or a part of NATO, I don't understand. Considering that they have like very strong communist background, but they probably just thought that Western capitalism would change things around, and who sticks to their ideologies? I mean, all the money we give to the Saudis, it wasn't what, like 15, 16 hijackers weren't like we give them way too much money to fly planes in the buildings. Okay, that's just crazy talk. There's no ideology changes when you pass money. No, it doesn't. Okay, as this is through oilprice.com, as Hungary threatens to veto a European Union-wide ban on Russian energy products, the bloc is now considering exemptions for Hungary and Slovakia for a longer time frame for the two countries to reduce their heavy reliance on Russia. They're not going to reduce it. They want to keep things the way that they are. Slovakia and Hungary have been among those EU members staunchly opposed to a ban on Russian oil due to their very high dependence on Russian imports. On Monday, a senior Hungarian government official said that Hungary could be ready to veto an EU embargo on Russian oil imports, Bloomberg reported. So yes, they are holding firm because they know that their country is effed and upped if they go through with it. If they go along with it, they're probably looking at some type of uprising, civil war, riots, mass chaos, because everything would just come crashing down. And there's absolutely, it doesn't matter how much of our oil Biden ships over there. It's not going to replace a freaking pipeline coming straight out of Russia. It's just not going to happen. China holds secret bank meetings to plan for protecting assets from U.S. sanctions. China's kung fu is strong. Yes, they know what's coming. They know what they're doing, and they're ahead of the game. So while Nancy Pelosi is over like stroking off Zelensky in Ukraine, China's getting ready. China is preparing, and they've seen what has happened to Russia and the steps that we took against Russia for invading Ukraine. They're preparing for all of it. Sanctions, they don't care about sanctions. Freezing assets, that shit isn't going to happen, okay? Like they are preparing for they know what our tricks are because we've not only did we show all of our cards going into this whole Ukraine thing, but now even when we were doing it, we said beforehand what we're going to do. How stupid could our government be? Our government officials. Uh well, we're gonna enact these sanctions. And then Russia prepares beforehand to like counter the sanction, like going to China and India and like, hey, you want to buy our stuff? We'll sell it to you at a discount. And they're like, okay. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing we could do to China at this point. This whole we're gonna seize their assets, and it's like, no, you're not. China is taking serious steps to prepare itself for potential future U.S. sanctions, such as have been imposed against Russia's banking sector. This is by Tyler Durden at Zero Hedge. With regulators recently convening an emergency meeting of domestic and foreign banks to examine how to best protect the country's overseas assets. China owns a lot of US property. A lot. Okay? And there's no taking stuff away from China. Like we can say like, oh well, we're seizing this property because we can. It's gonna be like Waco, except it's not going to be the Chinese property that goes up in smoke. Over the weekend, the FT identified that the internal conference was held on April 22nd and included top officials from China's central bank and finance ministry. It's also said that representatives were sent from every domestic and Chinese overseas bank. Additionally, some China tied international institutions, notably among them HSBC, the somewhat secretive conference was held as Russia is charging Washington with stealing $300 billion of its assets held overseas. And it is stealing. We're not at war. We're not at war with Russia. Officially, we're not. So why are we taking their stuff? That's called theft. That's not being a good guy. That's called being an asshole. Yeah. Western nations have actually stolen more than 300 billion US dollars from Russia, which they seized the money meant to pay for Russian gas. Russian Foreign Ministry Sergei Lavrov said in an interview on Friday. Let's see here. Lavrov had with the last days again described the US led actions of the West shameless robbery and described London, Washington, Brussels are looking at seizing the money they have frozen to transfer it to someone else. Indeed, there has been open talk of using seized Russian assets, including frozen Russian central bank reserves, to rebuild Ukraine in the future and to fund Ukrainian institutions. European countries have led to weigh in the seizures with Washington's goading. It appears China is taking note and not sitting idly by for its own similar crisis. What are they preparing for? Especially as rhetoric ratchets concerning Taiwan and potential parallels with Ukraine. The emergency meeting also came after starting in March, the Biden administration began expressly warning Beijing not to serve as an enabler to Russia's military machine by supplying it or also assisting in sanction evasion. They're already buying Russian oil. So why is China freaking out? Biden had in a March 18th call conveyed this warning to President Xi directly. Yes, they are preparing to invade Taiwan. And they know that the US is going to react. And of course, our reaction is basically going to be like, well, we'll take your money. Because we really don't have any other options at this point. Like we are depleting like 1/3 of the Stinger missiles that we had stockpiled for, I don't know, an actual war that we'd be involved in are gone. And we don't have the capability of building more. This is what the horrible decisions and policies put into place over the last 20, 30 years have done. We outsourced our fucking ability to protect ourselves to other countries who are eventually going to bend us over. And without lube, you get the idea. So, good job. Blow Biden. Moving on. Ghost of Kiev fighter ace was fake. News Ukraine military admits. Fake news. Ghost of Kiev was fake news. I'm pretty sure a bunch of internet sleuths figured that out in less than 24 hours after the story started to get spread, right? The mysterious Ukrainian war hero hailed as the ghost of Kiev not only didn't die in combat, but also wasn't real. The Ukrainian military said. Uh, yeah, that's really all you need to know. They just made shit up to make people feel better. That's it. That's Snake Island. Well, they don't have to make an official statement about that because Russia was like, here's the guys. They're right here. Oh, you're pinning a medal on them after the prisoner exchange. Yeah, that was just another fake story. Yeah, so that is the news for today. I don't see any questions. I don't see any viewers. So I'm going to cut this feed. I hope everyone is doing well. Shorter video today, thankfully. I've got things to do, chickens to feed, rabbits to feed. The weather is still shit, so I will probably be working on my Kindle Vella story, which currently has 0 views because Kindle's doing so well at making sure that we can share our stories and get links and stuff out there to people. It's weird. It's not an option. I don't understand what they're doing, but I'm gonna keep going with it and see where it takes me. Worst case scenarios, I end up with a book written at the end. So keep on typing.